Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Augustine and I'm the career advice expert for TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. Every week I answer your job search questions that are sent in. You can always go to topresume.com and click on career advice to submit your questions as well. But this week I'm going to do a little special edition for the holidays. I have a number of questions from some very well-known professionals out there and give them my 2 cents about how I can help them move their careers forward. This question comes from the Grinch. Performance reviews are just around the corner. Last year I was dealt some pretty nasty feedback. Something about having a heart 3 times too small. And I have a feeling my boss isn't changing his tune this time around. How do I prepare for this tough conversation? So whether you already have a feeling you're going to get some negative feedback in your performance review, or it takes you blindsided and you're having to respond on the spot, it's always important to be prepared to handle feedback. One thing I always want to remind people is that feedback is actually an incredible gift. Not every boss provides feedback. Hopefully it's constructive. But always take feedback and consider it a gift, whether it's hard to swallow or not. Because if they're willing to tell you what's going on, they're also willing to give you an opportunity to turn it around. If not, they could just fire you, right? There are plenty of places where there's no cost and you can fire somebody. So keep in mind that feedback is actually a really great gift and you want it. So the first thing you want to do, whether they told you you're pretty negative around the office or you're a rock star, say thank you. Always say thank you for the feedback because they're willing to take time out of their schedule to share with you what they're observing. The other thing I want to remind you is that if you do get handed or dealt a nasty piece of feedback, even if you 100% disagree with it, you have to remember that perception's reality. This is what they are perceiving, right or wrong, and so your job now is to change that perception. So yes, you may say, I think I've been great, and they think you've been awful. Okay, but that's their perception, and now you have to deal with that. So always say thank you first. Then second, ask for concrete examples. You can't change behavior if you don't know when you're doing something that they don't like, especially if you think that this feedback's coming out of left field. So make sure you say, okay, thank you. Could you provide some specific examples? A good manager should have some prepared. Not every manager does. And they may not be able to think of something on the spot, and that's okay. Say, okay, well, can we follow up in a week's time? Or can you email me when you have some examples? Or the next time you see me exhibiting this quality or doing this thing, can you please bring it to my attention? Because I wasn't aware that that's how I was coming across, or I wasn't aware that I was actually not performing up to standards. So if you could help me, I would like to turn this around. I think that's really important. When you're asking for feedback, you're showing that you're being proactive, that you're taking that feedback in and you want to do something with it. Because receiving that feedback and saying, okay, great, and then going about and doing everything you've been doing before isn't going to help the situation, and it's probably going to end poorly at that company, right? So those are the things I'd start with. The second is figure out, does your boss have some sort of plan for you that you need to work on, or is this something that you need to develop on your own? Regardless of what your boss hands you, I would always personally sit down and say, okay, what could I be doing to help improve this situation? And create certain milestones for yourself. What are some activities you can try? If there's somebody in your department who's performing exceptionally well, if there's someone who seems to be doing the absolute opposite of what you're doing according to your boss, perhaps that's somebody that you want to reach out to and say, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Hey, you want to go grab lunch? And just ask them, hey, you're a rock star here. I would like to improve my performance, or I would like to be doing better. Are there any tips you can give me? Any feedback? You might as well, don't reinvent the wheel here. Figure out what someone else is doing well and emulate it. Figure out how to make it your own. But definitely come up with a plan for yourself. And some of that could be working on things personally. It could be asking somebody that you trust at work, hey, if I do X, Y, and Z, or you see me exhibiting this quality, would you let me know? I'm trying to work on this. I want to improve it. So I have to say, part of this is you have to be willing to be vulnerable because you have to ask for help. Particularly if the feedback you're receiving is about something that you weren't aware you were doing or you really didn't have a great grasp of it. If you don't know the difference, you need other people to tell you. So you don't always want to have to go to your boss. If possible, find other people who can help you within the company. And second, we've talked about a lot of things, huh? We're not on second anymore. And 90th in this list of things that you can try and do, I recommend setting up a check-in point with your boss if your boss doesn't set one up at the end of your performance review. Can you check in a month's time, 3 months' time, whatever makes sense depending on what your piece of feedback was. To check in and see, are you doing better? Does your boss believe that you're improving? That's always important because you don't want to wait until the next time a performance review rolls around. I hope that helps. Best of luck, and remember, feedback is a gift if you're willing to listen to it with an open mind.